The XRP price chart is finally giving us some big clues about when the next major breakout could happen. In this video, I'll break down the XRP price chart and share an exciting metric that has only appeared a few times in XRP's history, and each time it's led to a massive rally. Plus, I'll dive into some super positive and probably under the radar news about RLUSD that you definitely don't want to miss. All right, let's kick off this video by taking a quick look at the XRP price chart, because honestly, what we're seeing right now might just give us a clue about when the next breakout could happen. So after that massive rally earlier this year, XRP has kind of slowed down and settled into a pretty clear trading range. But hey, this isn't unusual for XRP. It's actually pretty common. After a big parabolic run, it usually takes some time to cool off and consolidate with the price tightening and the volatility easing up. XRP is known for being a pretty volatile cryptocurrency, often making big sudden moves all at once. This is a pattern we see with XRP time and time again. It's like the highs get lower, the lows get higher, and the price keeps narrowing until a massive movement happens. Right now, XRP is at the tail end of one of these volatility squeezes. Based on the current trend, it looks like this pattern will wrap up around July 25th. By then, we'll probably see XRP's price action really take shape. That said, there's always a chance this could stretch a bit later, maybe into late July or even August, depending on how things play out. Looks like XRP might be gearing up for a breakout right now. There are so many potential catalysts on the horizon that could drive this, some big, some small. Some are directly tied to XRP itself, while others are more about the overall cryptocurrency market. What's exciting is seeing XRP hold its ground since that big breakout in November, all while making higher lows along the way. That's a really positive sign and a pattern we've seen consistently with XRP. But here's the thing, you'll want to keep an eye on one key metric that's been a surprisingly accurate predictor of where XRP is heading: whale wallets. These large accounts often give us a big clue about what's coming next. XRP is one of those cryptocurrencies that reacts really strongly when whale wallets start increasing their positions. If we look at XRP whale accumulation over the past 6 months, there's been a massive spike in activity. And honestly, it's not that surprising. We're seeing larger institutions, serious investors, and big players entering the crypto space, and they're approaching it much differently than earlier investors. For a while, NFTs and meme coins were all the rage in crypto, but that hype has definitely cooled off. These days, the focus has shifted toward cryptocurrencies that actually offer utility. Think tokenized assets or stable coins. And guess what? That's exactly what the XRP ledger is built for. We've been hearing a lot about more banking institutions stepping into the world of cryptocurrency lately, and it's all thanks to clearer rules and regulations. For the longest time, regulations were the main thing keeping them out. But here's the thing, these institutions have always wanted to use these assets. They were just held back by regulatory barriers. Now that there's more clarity, things are shifting, and it's super exciting to see. One clear sign, whale wallets have been accumulating XRP like crazy. It's been off the charts. What's really fascinating is how this accumulation directly ties to XRP's price movements. Check out this chart. It's super interesting. It shows how whale activity lines up with XRP's price movements. If you look back at late 2024 to early 2025, XRP had that massive 600% pump. What was happening behind the scenes? Whales were going all in, accumulating a ton of XRP. The chart shows whale activity spiked first, and then XRP's price followed shortly after. Here's the exciting part. We're seeing something really similar happening right now. Whales are stacking up on XRP again, just like they did back then, but the price hasn't made its move yet. If history repeats itself, we could be just a few months away from a big price shift. I think we're seeing the same thing happening right now. Whales are jumping in fast, and that's even before the ETFs are live. Just imagine what could happen once the ETFs go live, especially with clear rules, regulations, and something like a market infrastructure bill in place. More and more financial institutions are jumping on board, and Ripple is perfectly positioned as a key player working with them. This makes it pretty clear that the number of big investors, or whales, getting into XRP is only going to grow. In my opinion, it's not a stretch to say that just as we've seen XRP's price rise alongside whale accumulation in the past, that trend is likely to continue. As more whales accumulate, XRP's price is bound to follow. This is a strong sign that all these developments are driving major changes in how XRP is being accumulated. And let's not forget, This is happening because the XRP ledger remains one of the top blockchains out there, with Ripple consistently keeping it in front of the right people. I say this all the time, but it's so important to understand. I could create a brand new version of the XRP ledger tomorrow, and it could be 10 times better in all kinds of ways. But if I don't have the network effect, no one's going to use it. That's something a lot of people forget. The network effect is incredibly valuable for any blockchain. At the end of the day, a network is only as strong as the people who use it. Ripple has built one of the strongest and most engaged user communities for the XRP ledger, making it stand out among other cryptocurrencies. This puts the XRP ledger in a great position, especially with key players in the industry taking notice. In my opinion, this makes whale accumulation something really important to keep an eye on as more serious investors and big names enter the crypto space. On a related note, there are some big picture factors worth mentioning. One of the key ones is that it looks like the Federal Reserve might be cutting interest rates pretty soon, which could have a significant impact on the market. For the first time, we're seeing a lot of pressure from President Trump on Powell, basically saying, look, if you don't cut interest rates, we're done here. Interest rates need to be at 1 to 2%. And if you won't do it, I'll find someone who will. I've been saying for a while that lower interest rates make sense. Inflation is already hovering around 2%, which is right on target for the Federal Reserve. There's really nothing major going on in the economy that should make us worry about cutting rates. It just feels like they're too high right now. If rates were to drop to that 1 to 2% range, we'd likely see the markets absolutely take off. The market's been doing surprisingly well, even with high interest rates, but it's starting to feel like those rates don't really need to stay this high anymore. After all, they were raised to tackle inflation, and now that inflation isn't much of an issue, keeping rates up is causing more harm than good. High interest rates are putting pressure on different parts of the economy and making it tough for things like cryptocurrencies or equities to attract capital. Why? Because people are happy leaving their money in a bank account earning 5-6% interest. It seems like political pressure to lower rates is really building up, and there's growing momentum for change. Even Trump appears to be giving this a lot of thought. Trump doesn't want the US refinancing its debt at a 5% rate because that would mean the government ends up paying billions more than necessary. Instead, he believes he can bring rates down, saving the US from those extra costs. This is one of those ticking time bomb situations in a good way. We know it's coming, but we just haven't seen enough political momentum to make it happen yet. That said, I think we'll see real movement on this later in the summer, maybe early fall or winter. If interest rates drop as expected, it could seriously turbocharge the market and drive things significantly higher across the board. We've actually been doing really well, even in what's been a tough market for cryptocurrencies. Honestly, if you had told me we'd see XRP up 600% by the end of 2024 with a 5% interest rate, I wouldn't have believed it. It's been a challenging environment for crypto to thrive in, but what happened was incredible. The market turned out to be super bullish, especially with the new administration now being pro-crypto. Despite all the macro pressures working against us, the market still performed amazingly well. Now, just imagine what could happen when everything aligns. Like a low interest rate environment, this is about to take things to a whole new level, something we've been waiting on for a long time. Before I wrap up, I want to quickly touch on RLUSD. So I came across this interview. I won't share it here because it takes a while to get to the point. But here's the big takeaway. RLUSD stablecoin is now doing an incredible $10 billion in daily transaction volume. Surprisingly, this was flying under the radar because its market cap hasn't caught up yet. It's still sitting around $400, $500 million, but the transaction volume, way higher. Here's my take. Over the next year or so, we're going to see a big shift with people moving away from most stablecoins on the market and gravitating toward RLUSD. USDC and Tether are facing some big challenges right now, and this has caught the attention of many top institutions. On the other hand, RLUSD is in a much stronger position compared to USDT and USDC. For a long time, I really believed USDC would become the go-to cryptocurrency for institutions, but honestly, it doesn't look like that's happening anymore. USDC seems to be losing its place as one of the leading stablecoins in the market. Meanwhile, RLUSD is stepping up and looking far more appealing to major institutions that are starting to move away from USDC. It's exciting to see how this will unfold over the next few months. The Circle IPO has definitely caught a lot of attention, and many people see it as a big win for institutional investors. But I'd say hold on for a second. There are a couple of important factors to consider, and honestly, they're more significant than I initially thought. For starters, RLUSD seems way more appealing to a lot of financial institutions. It's going to be interesting to watch how some of that $10 billion in volume starts to translate into market cap, especially as these players become more transparent about what they're really up to. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you found this update helpful and interesting.